Okay, so the coffee maker. I'm going to take you through a really common and powerful technique working with layout sketches. This is where you can get a lot of ideas down in the CAD system and then start pulling from that. Really gets you those shapes and sizes fast and gives you a flexibility of being able to pull from that information over and over again. Multi-body parts is something else I want to explore with you that really opens up some more flexibility in intersecting different shapes and volumes inside your design. And then finally, I want to show you a really nice couple of commands for modifying faces, getting in there from a more direct approach and making tweaks and edits and just kind of changing the feel of your design in a real flexible way that isn't always associated with traditional solid modeling practices. So let's take a look into SolidWorks here and open up a new part from scratch here. All right, so this is our typical CAD modeling environment, and I'm just going to sketch out a couple of quick ideas here, sort of the footprint for what this coffee maker is going to look like. And I know I'm going to need a carafe of some sort that's going to sit right about here. And let's say that carafe is somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 inches across. And the kind of shape that I'm looking for, you sort of saw it previewed in the picture, but that's just really just so you can see where my mind is at. I want sort of an oblong kind of shape across the back of this here, so I'm going to lay that out and refine this a little bit. And we can just drag this around and tweak it a couple of different ways to explore. Well, I kind of want that centered. I wanted this a little bit bigger, a little bit shorter, or squatter, or fatter, or larger. Oftentimes, you have specific design constraints that you need to work in. You have some known footprint that you need to operate in. So I can lay that down exactly if I'd like with a couple of values. Or I can go ahead and just kind of drag it around and get sort of an eyeball look here. Maybe right about there is where I like it to be. Or maybe we'll go ahead and grab that total size across the entire footprint here and say, we really want this to be in a 9 by 9 kind of shape. All right, so let's step out of this for a minute. And that's a really simple example of a layout sketch. Now I want to pull from that a couple of different ways. Let's go ahead and grab just that back circle for a second. And one common technique is to just sort of copy that into yet another sketch. And then we can go and sort of build that up and say, you know what, I need this to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 inches tall. All right, and then where the carafe is going to sit, let me go ahead and pull that up as well. And that's only going to come out about 1.25 inches. And I'd like to see a little bit of a taper to that. So we can adjust that and very quickly take a look at what angles and tapers look nice to us. So you know what, that's about how big I want it to be. And let's kind of leave that there for now. Now I also need to put the basket in up at the top somewhere. I need some room for the carafe. I might decide to go ahead and capture some of that concept in another sketch here. Maybe from the front I want to draw this out and sort of have a bit of a placeholder here for where my carafe is going to live. So I can grab information that's already in my part and lock that down and say, well, you know what, here's about how big I want that carafe to be. Typically, they're about 5 to 6 inches tall, perhaps. I've got to make sure that we hold that envelope open for it. Let me go ahead and spin that around this axis here. And we'll kind of leave that as a placeholder. Maybe we'll take that shape right there and just make it transparent, so it just kind of holds that envelope for me a little bit. That's where the carafe's going to live someday. Up on top of that, maybe I'll draw my next idea. Or maybe, you know what, let's go from the front here again. We need to make room for our coffee filters. So sort of building this up from the top of our carafe, we've got sort of our standard size coffee filter. And let's go ahead and put some values on that to lock that down. All right, so this is really about conceptualizing those volumes where you have some specific I don't know what you call it, sort of places that you need to reserve room for those designs and where they're going to live. Space claiming, I guess you could call that, maybe about a 1/4 inch up there. All right, so let's go ahead and spin that around as well to recognize where we're going to need to hold room for that carafe. I'm sorry, for that filter. Thank you. All right, so as I'm doing this, I might notice that, what, this is actually a little bit too short. Let's grow that a little bit taller. Let's go to maybe 11 inches so that I've got enough room to build around that. And then we're going to take and enclose our coffee filter holder with a larger area. So maybe right from the bottom of this, let's go and start sketching again. Maybe I want to echo this same shape that we were working with before, so I can just grab and copy that in. And let's go ahead and pull that up to match this surface here. All right, so it can go and build in these various shapes. All right, so you can see how we very quickly went and captured these different ideas for how our coffee maker is going to look. All right, and actually let me do one more thing here. Let's leave that separate for now. So next thing I maybe want to do is get an idea of exactly how that carafe is going to be shaped and where it's going to sit in there. So I'm going to hide this placeholder for now. And we need to put an actual carafe in there. Let's go ahead and design what that's going to look like. And let me save what I've done here so far. Let's call it Coffee Maker 2. All right, so again, really quickly, just getting some ideas down. Say, well, you know what, how about what we want is, it's going to sit right about here and come up about with some vertical lines, be a nice straight side, something about like so. And then maybe we'll sex it up a little bit with, some sort of a nice swoopy shape. And let's go and grab and tweak this around, and let's see, maybe something about like that, and we can grab and sort of get an idea of what we want this shape to look like, maybe something a little bit more attractive like so. Something about like that. Let's make some room for that. Okay. So let's go ahead and take that guy there, and we need to make some room for that to sit inside the rest of our coffee maker. So let me again spin this around and make room for that carafe. And you know what, maybe let's round off the bottom of that a little bit. That looks pretty good. All right, and now I'm going to use a really nice command in SOLIDWORKS called indent, which lets me just kind of reserve some space for a couple of different volumes that intersect each other. Go grab that command over here, and we're going to take that part and just kind of make a little bit of room for it inside this overall shape, and maybe we need to have about a 1/4 inch or so around the outside of that, 1/4 inch of space.
Might have just.
Hey, look at that. I just took a chunk out of my...
Yeah, it might have gone backwards.
Another good reason for having solid models. Here we go. Let's look at the section view there. Very nice. Pankos did this backwards.
So this is the sort of stuff that people would normally, industrial designers would normally do like on pen and paper, or they'd normally do like in something like a Rhino or a Maya.
Here we go. Yeah, I mean, industrial designers, like I said, more and more they are, taking into account different, different 3D designs in other 3D related software. The problem that a lot of people are encountering is you're unable to then create prototypes from that. Or you've got an even bigger disconnect when it's time to go to engineering with it. So let me go ahead and hide this. And so there's sort of our concept of what our coffee maker is going to look like. And we want to run this by the team a little bit let me go ahead and pull all these ideas together and just add this all up together into one final design here. And maybe we want to round this off a little bit. All right, so the power of combining solids and doing some surface modeling, doing some fillets and rounds and things like so, I mean, that's really where your mechanical CAD system is going to shine the brightest. So, you know, being able to do this and round off these edges and, you know, sort of get a nice look of how this is going to, maybe we want this to kind of get a little bit softer in here. Let's open that up with maybe like an inch fillet or so and round that off. And maybe we'll put one across the top. Okay, so there's a quick idea. Let's make this look a little bit more attractive. Let's go grab some materials and let's make this out of a nice medium gloss, maybe a nice cream colored plastic, something like that. Maybe a little bit more realistic shadows. So that can give you some quick ideas. I might be looking at this now and seeing that the top of this, I mean, this really looks like somebody, you know, built it in the 80s. It's very, you know, it's very, you know, straight. Needs a little bit more life to it. So this is about the flexibility of the design that we're looking for. Let's take this top face here, and I don't really want that to be so flat. I want it to have a little bit more life to it. So this is going to take advantage of being able to come back in time. You know, to go back to before those fillets and rounds and say, you know what, I really didn't want that to be quite so flat. Let's take and come up with a couple of different approaches here. And I really want this to have a little bit of a curve to it. I'm going to exaggerate this so we can see it nicely. All right, I want sort of a curve to it like so, from that direction. And then if we look at it from this orientation here, let's say we want maybe something, we'll kind of lean back a little bit, or we'll lean forward so we get the capacity that we want on the back maybe. All right, but from the front, you know, we actually take a little bit of that out of it. All right. And let's drop it right through there. Okay, so those are kind of the ideas that I want to work with. It's just those sort of two lines. So SOLIDWORKS gives us some really powerful surfacing tools that are going to let me take those different ideas and put them together. And I'm going to grab him and him, and I can see the sheet that then results from those two ideas put together.
I didn't know you could do that.
All those little curves. All right, and this also gets into the power and the flexibility. For those of you who may have done some solid modeling before, you know, oftentimes you're limited to having to add material or remove material, and that's pretty much what I've done so far. But if you look really closely, the way this surface intersects is it, you know, partially sticks up the top, partially is adding material, needs a little bit more material in the back, a little less material in the front. And that's where a command called replace face is really, really powerful, where we can just subtract out one idea and replace it with a different idea. And so just sort of with a little bit of le jardin, we've gone and made that replacement. And then we can quickly come forward through the rest of our ideas. You see all those fillets go back on nicely, and just this one here that we can reassign to that new face and move forward with our design. All right, so really fast, flexible, easy to change our mind. Hey, that started out as an extrusion, really simple command, but I really want it to be, you know, a lot more lifelike than that. You know, so we can really easily capture that. All right, the last thing I wanted to do with this example, real quick, let's bring our carafe back, and let's make that out of some glass here. Just real quickly apply a glass to that. Let's go a nice glossy clear glass. And let's take a look at then a photo rendering All right, so this is going to, you got some pretty nice visualization here, but when we add in some rendering, that's going to actually calculate more realistically how materials are going to interact, how light's going to bend through the scene, and especially you can see the reflectance and the refractance of that glass and the lights off the back. So what have we been at this for, maybe 15 minutes on this particular part?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
And so, really quickly, I could explore different color styles that maybe we want to look at. Maybe we want to take and try this in a red, nice glossy red, maybe a nice glossy black color. And you can see the photo rendering is going to allow me to explore those things really quickly. And we didn't even have to print parts, although we could if we wanted to. It's neat the way the glass picks up that red, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I love the way you made that top. I mean, that made it from a design an engineer would use to design something an industrial designer would do. Just the way you smoothed out that top.
All right, so this preview right now that we're seeing integrated in the CAD system, just adds the extra light effects in there. You can, of course, also push that out to, for example, a PowerPoint slide or any other kind of marketing materials that you're using to explore those different shapes. All right, so that was a coffee maker that I wanted to take you guys through. What we really saw here was that you can quickly explore those three-dimensional forms. You saw me pulling up the shapes both to accommodate the design requirements for the different capacities and internals that I knew I had to style around, as well as getting the flexibility to change the top a little bit, to soften the corners with some rounds and fillets, and also even just explore different material ideas and colors and things like that.